All right, we're looking at Phyllis Wheatley. If you have your textbook in front of you, it's kind of helpful because you can see the poem. In the yellow edition, that's the 5th edition, the poem is on page 145. If you have any other edition, it's in chapter 3 at the very end of the chapter where the primary sources are on those colored pages, blue or brown, depending on what edition you have. So when scholars first started looking at Wheatley's poems, they were pretty critical of her. And a lot of it had to do with this poem on being brought from Africa to America. Because if you don't read it too closely, it sounds like she's saying she's thankful that she was enslaved, because through slavery she found Christianity. She says, "'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land, taught my benighted soul to understand that there's a God and that there's a Savior too." However, the authors of the textbook asks you to kind of think about this a little deeper. And if you look at the poem, and particularly read through the end, she's actually calling out for the equality of people of color and challenging ideas of enslavement. Note, she says, "'Twas mercy that brought me from my pagan land," and pagan is in italics. And then the last couple of lines, she says, "Remember Christians." Well, before that she says, "Some view our sable race with a scornful eye. Their color is a diabolic dye. Remember Christians, Negroes black as Cain, may be refined and join the angelic train." So again, here, if you read it a little bit more closely, what she's saying is some people look at people of color and say that there's something wrong with them and that we're not the same. She says, but remember, if you're Christians, remember Christians, and she's got that in italics, Negroes black as Cain may be refined and join the angelic chain, right? So saying, in the end, if you believe in the Christian doctrine, we're all going to be in the same place. So that would suggest that we're equal. So again, a closer reading of that suggests, in fact, that she was more critical of enslavement and of ideas of inequality than maybe initially people gave her credit for. And then if you look at the letter on the opposite page of the poem, this is now after she's freed. She clearly not only writes about the importance of equality and freedom, but she also draws attention to that hypocrisy that we talked about, that contradiction of liberty and freedom. So she writes here that everybody wants to be free. She's writing a letter to a popular minister, and she says here that God has implanted a principle which we call the love of freedom. It's impatient of oppression and it pants for deliverance. I just love her use of words there, and that image, that panting for deliverance, right? That everyone would want to be free. And then I love the last couple of lines too, because it's in those lines where she really calls out the contradictions of liberty and freedom alongside slavery. She says, now we don't write like this or talk like this, so it's a little wordy, but what she says here is, she calls it absurd, how the strange absurdity of their conduct, and here she means the colonist, whose words and actions are so diametrically opposite, how well the cry for liberty and the reverse disposition for the exercise of oppressive power over others. I humbly think it does not require the penetration of a philosopher to determine. So again, in our language, what she's saying is, it seems pretty ironic to her that the very people that are calling out for liberty are the ones that are enslaving others. And it doesn't take someone too smart to figure out that that's a contradiction. It doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, if you've got any other questions about the Wheatley documents or her experiences, please feel free to ask those in the questions discussion board that's included in this module, and I'll get answers to you. Take care.